glass didn't just break. It vanished into a cloud of glittering dust as 3 tons of stolen yellow steel punched a hole through the side of the dome. And for one glorious, delusional second, I actually thought I was James Bond. I had the gas mask on, the sledgehammer in my hand, and 350 million pounds worth of diamonds. That's about 500 million US dollars, sitting right in front of me like a giant glowing middle finger to the rest of the world. We were moving like clockwork, smoke grenades filling the air with a thick white haze. But as I reached for the Millennium Star, the world didn't explode. It just went quiet. And that's when I saw the cleaner pull a submachine gun out of his bucket. My name is Lee Wenham, and this was my crew. We weren't just some random street thugs. We were the heavy hitters, the guys the coppers whispered about over their lukewarm tea. We had Ray Betson, the mastermind, who probably should have been an architect with the way he planned things. Bill Cockrum, a man who treated a nail gun like a surgical instrument. And Bob Adams, who was older than most of the trees in London, but twice as tough. As for me, I grew up in a traveler family where the family business wasn't exactly selling insurance. I left school at 12 because, honestly, why learn long division when you can learn how to strip an engine in 20 minutes? I was a total success at being a failure in the 9-to-5 world, but give me a JCB and a dream, and I was the king of the world. I wanted to be famous more than anything. I wanted people to say my name and think of the man who stole the sun. The plan was a masterpiece, or at least it looked like one after 6 pints of lager. We were going after the De Beers Diamond exhibit at the Millennium Dome in Greenwich. It was the year 2000, the dawn of a new era, and we figured it was time for a wealth redistribution. We had the Millennium Star, a 203-carat diamond, and a dozen blue diamonds. The total value was 500 million US dollars. After that first mention, you realize we're talking about $500 million. That's enough to buy a fleet of Ferraris and still have enough left over to tell the taxman to go kick rocks. We spent months watching the tides of the Thames because we weren't just driving away, we were escaping on a high-speed boat. Very 07, right? Well, more like 00711 considering how it actually went down. We bought a JCB earthmover, reinforced the bucket so it could smash through anything, and practiced our timing until we could do it in our sleep. We were living the high life in our heads before we even touched the glass. I seriously love money, and I knew exactly how to get it, I told myself every morning. We felt untouchable. We were the lions of London, and the rest of the world was just sheep waiting to be sheared. The funniest part? We actually thought the coppers were clueless. We'd see them patrolling and just laugh. Absolute shambles, we thought. Little did we know, the Metropolitan Police's flying squad was basically living in our back pockets. They had over 200 officers on the job. While we were testing our speedboat engines in Kent, they were watching us through high-powered lenses. They even knew the tide was high every time we did a dry run. They weren't just one step ahead. They had finished the race and were waiting for us at the trophy presentation with handcuffs. The morning of November 7th, it finally happened. We rammed the dome. The sound was like a bomb going off. We stormed the vault, tossing ammonia and stink bombs to keep the tourists away. Bill started hammering at the glass with an automatic nail gun. It should have taken seconds, but the glass wasn't breaking. See, the feds had anticipated the sledgehammers, and even better, the diamonds weren't even there. The real Millennium Star was sitting in a safe somewhere else, and we were risking 20 years for a piece of crystal that probably cost $50. Then came the oops moment that redefined the word disaster. The floor literally erupted with police. They were hidden behind fake walls, they were dressed as maintenance staff, they were everywhere. I saw a cleaner drop his mop and I thought, well, that's a bit dramatic for a spill, until I realized the mop handle was actually a weapon. It was an absolute car crash of a situation. They tackled us into the broken glass, and the dream was dead before the smoke even cleared. They even had a boat waiting to intercept our getaway driver, Kevin Meredith, who was probably wondering why his scenic tour of the Thames suddenly involved sirens and shouting. The aftermath was a long, slow walk to the gallows. We stood in the Old Bailey in 2001, and the judge wasn't exactly a fan of our artistic approach to robbery. Ray Betson and Bill Cockrum got 18 years, though they got a bit of a discount on appeal later. I got 15 years, along with Bob and Aldo Cherokee. I wasn't exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. I was more like the spoon you use to open the paint can. Useful for a specific job, but ultimately just a bit messy. Now, let's talk 2026. Where is the dream team now? Well, most of us have been out for a long time. Terry Millman, poor bloke, died of cancer before he could even see the trial. As for me, Lee Wenham, I've actually turned it around. I'm a grandfather now, living in East Sussex, and I spend my days as a landscape gardener. Yep, I went from digging holes with a stolen JCB to digging holes for rose bushes. No cap, it's a lot less stressful. I even wrote a book about the whole mess called A Diamond Geezer. Ray Betson? Well, some people just love the grind. Just months after he got out, he tried to ram raid a cash depot in 2012 using, you guessed it, another digger. He knocked down the wrong wall, ended up in an empty office, and got his Mitsubishi stuck in the mud. He got another 13 years for their masterpiece. Aldo, the technician, is actually thriving. He married a model and runs a successful reclaimed flooring business. He swapped stealing diamonds for selling high-end cladding. Fair dinkum to him, I guess. Looking back, we were a bunch of old-school villains trying to live out a movie script in a world that had moved on to high-definition surveillance. We thought we were the smoothest operators in the UK, but we were just a bunch of guys in gas masks getting outplayed by the boys in blue. It was a legendary failure, the kind of story you tell your grandkids while you're pruning the hedges, wondering what life would have been like if that glass had actually broken. So, if you had a 50-50 chance of walking away with $500 million or spending the next 15 years eating prison porridge, are you revving up the JCB or are you staying home and watching it on Netflix like a sensible person?